Okay, so anyway, let's go over through um, your diseases. Basically, I have a macro here that I'm going to show you, and you can copy it if you want or not. You can use whatever you prefer. Okay, so basically what this does is it's going to cast Icy Touch, and then Plague Strike, and then Pestilence. Okay, this is kind of an opening disease spreading kind of thing because Icy Touch does Frost Fever, Plague Strike does Blood Plague. I think it's Blood Plague it's called, I don't care. And Pestilence spreads your diseases around. This is usually what I do to start a fight. Basically, you can start it either directly like this if you think you have enough time before your DPS go wild, or you can start with something like this, which basically is Death and Decay. Okay? And then you can go ahead and Icy Touch, Plague Strike, Pestilence. You see, this is just one button pressing. Okay. Then I have a separate keybind for Pestilence, for the simple reason that, for instance, if you look, the diseases are ticking on both targets, right? And if you notice, on this one it's almost finished. So I'm going to go to the other target, I'm going to spread his disease around, and it refreshes the diseases on this one. Okay. The other one, however, is going down now, so but I can also do it again. And it passes to the other target. So you can juggle your diseases infinitely, to be honest. This is just a little trick that you want, like if you want to keep your diseases up all the time without having to cast Icy Touch and Plague Strike, you can by just casting Pestilence. However, in this particular spec, you want to cast Icy Touch from time to time because it gives you the improved Icy Talents we saw that boost your melee haste by 20%. Look up here. These are my buffs. Right, now, let's see. Wait, wrong key. There, see? Icy Talons. That's because I made Icy Touch. So you want to keep this buff up as much as possible so that your melee DPS are doing their job properly and DPSing the crap out of stuff. Okay, that's about it for the intro. Give me just a second here. I'm gonna make a quick jump cut. Okay, just one more thing that I didn't went through on my warrior video, but I want to do it on my Death Knight. Glyphs. The glyphs I'm using for Frost right now are Glyph of Unbreakable Armor, which makes Unbreakable Armor a bit better, so it can act as a good, decent cooldown. Glyph of Raised Dead doesn't really matter. Minor glyphs are just like meh. Horn of Winter, basically it's useful because if I forget or something, it lasts longer. And Glyph of Pestilence. This is actually pretty important because you want your Pestilence to have its maximum reach so that it can reach as many targets as possible. This is like, to me at least, the most important minor glyph for Death Knights, okay? Because I can actually see the difference because I tried without it and with it, and trust me, it's a huge difference. Glyph of Obliterate, basically Obliterate makes more damage, it's useful. And Glyph of Icy Touch, your Frost Fever disease deals 20% additional damage. Frost Fever is a dot, so if you have dots that are dealing more damage, it's pretty good for your threat, especially because you usually spread them around with Pestilence, so it's going to be a stronger dot on every mob around you. The other thing is just check something. Like I said, I'm not a good Death Knight tank. Frost Fever. Disease dealing 203 frost damage every 3 seconds. Yeah, it's the dot. Okay. The other thing is, some people like to take Glyph of Rune Strike. That's also good. It's up to you, really, whatever choice you want to make. Okay. So anyways. Okay, so the first thing that you guys got to know about Death Knight tanking is mostly the starting rotation. So basically what you want to do is, if you want to do an AoE pull and you want to use Death and Decay, because it is a choice, sometimes you don't really have to use it. But actually the first one is not AoE, so I'm going to save this explanation for the next one. Okay, so on your normal one guy pulls, what you want to do is Icy Touch, Plague Strike, and then go for either Blood Strike or Obliterate. I'm gonna go with Blood Strike here. Now just Obliterate and Rune Strike. I have Rune Strike bound to the same key as Obliterate, so basically it becomes a lot easier. diseases are out, as you can see. There you go. It's also very important that you get an add-on to track your diseases. I'm using debuff filter. You can look it up on Google. And debuff filter, basically what it does is you can select debuffs that you make on the mobs and show them up wherever you want. I put them below my portraits so that I always have a good eye on them. So this next pull is going to be an AoE one, and I want you to notice where I'm going to place the Death and Decay, because it's not going to be exactly on top of them. It's going to be slightly ahead of them, so that by the time they get to me, they still have Death and Decay, you know? And after Death and Decay, you're going to want to do the standard Icy Touch, Plague Strike, Pestilence to spread your diseases around. And then you will use either Obliterate or Howling Blast. If Howling Blast is up, use Howling Blast. If it's not, use Obliterate. Same thing here. Just not going to use Death and Decay because it's only 2 targets. Keep your Horn of Winter up at all times. Seconds for this. Okay. As you could see, it was basically a Death and Decay, Icy Touch, Plague Strike, and Pestilence. After that, basically, it's almost like you're free to do whatever you want, but I usually just go for the Obliterate. Come on, hurry up. 4 seconds. This is the problem with Frost. I don't use Morbidity, so my D&Ds normally take a while to recharge. This is a pain in the ass. Yeah, sorry buddy, not much I could do there. This is actually better than mine. Sweet. So as you can see, my Death Knight is not that well geared. Because I'm still picking up upgrades on this run. Yeah, people are even surprised that someone needs gear from here, but they should understand that this is an alt. Basically the rotation is pretty much almost the same. You get your diseases up and then you go for Obliterate, Howling Blast, or if you don't have, if your blood runes aren't death runes, you also go for Blood Strike or Pestilence. The use of Death and Decay on every pull is optional. I like to use it because it just guarantees that the mobs are on me. Also remember to rune dump, like if you're above 60 runic power, use your Frost Strike ability, like I said in the beginning. Basically this video, you're not gonna learn so much from watching me tank. You're gonna be learning a lot more from the intro I made at the start of the video where I go through the Death Knight stuff. Also, but try to keep a close eye on where I do my Death and Decays, because this is also something that I see a lot of Death Knights fucking up, because they don't know where to place their Death and Decays. They just place it right on top of their targets, and that usually causes it to go to waste because the targets tend to move forward towards your tank, and basically if your Death and Decay is right on top of them, by the time they reach you, they're not going to be on top of your Death and Decay. Also make sure you cycle through your targets, especially if you're low geared like me, because a lot of people tend to pull aggro off me, and there's not really much I could do. Because basically it's just I'm low geared on my Death Knight, and like I said, this is an alt. I don't really care much about this character. I care about my warrior.